What's going on, guys? Insta360 here with FlytPath.com. Now in this video, I'm going to talk to you not about these cameras here, which is the GoPro, the Osmo Action, and the Insta360 One X, but Insta360 just came out with a new one. As you can see, it's right here. It is not a microphone on my shirt. This is their new camera, the Insta360 Go. And if you guys aren't familiar with Insta360, they actually came out with the Insta360 One 360 camera a few years ago. And their kind of big thing back then was the whole bullet time. So if you've ever seen like the Matrix style effect, they were the ones that really marketed the bullet time effect of slow motion, of spinning your camera kind of around your head and having it nice in slow motion. So I had this camera now for a few years, but I think the biggest thing that changed when they came out, the Insta360 One X, was the flow state stabilization as well as the software for editing on your mobile device. Now with that flow state stabilization as well as the software, they have now come out with the Insta360 Go, which is this tiny camera for ants pretty much type of on-the-go camera. So in this video, let's talk a little bit more about the Insta360 Go. And if you guys are new to my channel, my name is Insta360. I do a lot of drone tech tips, tutorials, and product reviews on this channel. So if that's something that interests you, make sure you guys hit subscribe and also hit the bell to be notified when I post new videos. Now, Insta360 actually sent me this to review, and I wasn't exactly sure when I got it of where it would fit into my workflow. And as you guys know, I talk about some of the gear I normally carry around. I always have like the Osmo Action with me as well as the Insta360 One X. Because of the fact it just captures everything, so at least you have everything, and then you can always go back in and kind of pick out the clips you want. The Insta360 One X is pretty much one of my favorite, behind the scenes camera and just really all-purpose camera. Of course, not for going underwater and stuff like that. So it was nice to see that they came out with something new, but I really wasn't sure where this would fit into my gear workflow. And before we get into it, let's talk about what comes inside of this box right here from Insta360. We of course have the adapter. This adapter right here is to be used for the camera itself. You're gonna pop the camera right here. It has the points right here for connection, and then you're gonna use this for your iOS device to transfer your photos and videos to your phone or your tablet, as well as it has a micro USB on the side for Android devices for you to transfer to your Android device. We also have a little wedge here for it to be used with this new clip, and everything is magnetic. Magnetic little pad, as well as a magnetic clip. So this will be used to hook it up to, your clothing, your bag, your hat, your beanie, anything like that. So it's a pretty standard clip that you would use to pop your camera in like so. Of course, we have a couple cables, USB to micro USB, and that'll be for charging as well as the Android phones, as well as we have a USB-C to a micro USB. We of course have the camera itself, and then you have a little pad here which will be used for this stand. This is what you'll be normally using your Insta360 Go in, and all it is the little cradle to hold your camera in there. Has a 1/4-20 at the bottom, so you can pretty much use it for any selfie stick that has a 1/4-20. And the nice thing about this thing, it actually swivels. Stick this on. Now this is a little sticky pad on the back that's kind of a reusable sticky pad, so you can actually mount it to pretty much anything you want. And being this small, they only really have one button. So on the very front, you just have a wide angle single lens. And on the back here, you have the connection points that we use for the adapter when you hook it up to your phone. And then you have this one single button here on the very back. And even though it's on the back, you technically still kind of push the front in, and it'll just kind of push the back together. So you have this button here that you push, and that single button, you're gonna be able to change all the modes of the camera. There's a few different modes on here, but you'll be able to trigger and change everything through that button on the back. Oh, I almost forgot one more accessory, and that's this little pendant. Now it's a magnetic pendant right here, and it's to be used for the back of this. So this whole back part is magnetic, and if you put it onto your shirt, you can actually kind of Iron Man style it right here. Now, when I first saw this, I'll be honest with you, 100%, I thought it was very gimmicky. I was like, really? Like, I'm gonna walk around with a camera on my chest? Yes. It feels very gimmicky, and the thing about it is, yeah, it feels very Iron Man style, kind of like police, kind of creepy video camera on your chest type of thing. But when I started shooting and I started doing a bunch of different things with it, not only did it feel kind of really accessible having it here, but I ended up using it a lot because I got some really cool shots. We'll talk about it, but you get some really nice point of view type of shots when you're doing things. So when I was playing with my kids, I was able to put it right here and get these really cool shots. And I think that's something that you really miss when you shoot with something like an action camera, like a GoPro or an Osmo Action, is that if you wanted to get that point of view, whether you put it on your head or a chest, you'd have to put on like some sort of contraption. So if you wanted to do a chesty, you're gonna have to put on this big old harness and put on your action camera to the front. And the one thing, of course, I was concerned about just being right here and dangling was how stable it was. But if you guys don't already know how stable the Insta360 One X with flow state and their software is, it is actually just unreal. It is like, you talk to a lot of people that have this camera or that camera, and it's like some magical software that they wrote. And it is unreal how stable flow state is, and this camera has flow state stabilization as well as has that software you're gonna use so you do all of your editing on your phone. Another thing with this camera, it actually only has 15 and 30-second clips, so you can't use it for long form shooting. It's not something you kind of leave and then post it up for 30 minutes or so to record an event or something like that. This is really more of a document style camera for you to record a bunch of short clips that you would then compose later on into a mini story. Now, of course, how well does it shoot? How does it look compared to something like the Osmo Action or the GoPro Hero 7? I shot a bunch of video, put them all side by side. I'll let you guys decide, and I actually want you guys to see exactly what it looks like side by side in that 1080p. If you can tell the difference between the footage, and of course, you have to understand that this thing is so small, and it's going against the big boys in the group. But check out the flow state stabilization on how well this tiny camera does against some of those other cameras. Let me show you some of the footage right now. All right, so we have all three cameras. We have the GoPro Hero 7. We also have the Insta360 Go. And then of course we have the Osmo Action. I'll mix them up a little bit and you guys let me know what you guys see. Let's see how good they are and compare all three of this footage. Set, go. So as far as specs go, those are the basic specs of the camera. Now, what is this really to be used for? Honestly, I'm more about, and I've talked about this a lot, where sometimes you have too much gear or gear that gets in the way because you overthink what I need. I need a new lens, I need a new filter, I need this and that. But at the end of the day, you just really need to capture something. And I think having something like this just makes it super easy. So I was able to capture just my daily routine for the past couple days. And the great thing about this thing too, it also has a built-in theme and story mode in the app where you're able to select a bunch of clips and it'll automatically pick audio and edit the clips for you into like mini stories. All right, here is a basic kind of vlog test. How does the audio sound? I'm about 1.5 feet away from the cameras themselves. How does the audio sound on all of these right now? This is just a simple kind of audio test. We just got to the park. I'm gonna find a spot that has some good shade, but also some good background. And then set up some stuff here.
Be careful, the train might come.
Look left and right for the train. All right, here's a little audio test. Walking around the mall from indoor to outdoor. How does it do in the shade, from bright sunlight to shade? The next thing is holding it either landscape or holding it in portrait mode. It doesn't matter. You can actually hold it this way, you can mount it this way, you can put it this way. How this thing works if I hold it sideways. If I hold this sideways, will it correct itself? So it's holding it sideways right now. Now it's back straight. And now it's back sideways. And the video will level out and the horizon will be nice and straight in your video. So it doesn't really matter if it's moving around. The biggest thing with this is, like I said, the software. It's ridiculous in how good the stabilization is on this, whether you're holding it sideways or upside down. It will correct itself and just show you everything in leveled horizontal mode. Now, some of the things I definitely would have improved on or I'd like to see in possibly version 2 was they did mention there's gonna be a dive case for this thing. I would like to see this thing, you know, somewhat waterproof or, you know, submergible. Having something this small, I think, is also prone to falling. So it'd be nice to see this thing somehow waterproof. Also, it'd be nice if they have, which I could probably get a skin for, but I wish it was in a dark gray or a black color, less obvious that you have something just sitting in the middle of your chest. Now, overall, super impressed with how tiny and how stable this little camera is. Now, it's definitely not as high a resolution as some of the other ones out there, but like I talked about earlier, sometimes it's better to capture something than nothing, and sometimes when you're dealing with a lot of bigger gear, you end up just not shooting because it's just more of an inconvenience to shoot, where this is something that's literally just on you or in your pocket. As always, guys, if you guys got some value from my video, don't forget to hit that like button, and of course, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified. This is Anastasio with FlytPath.com. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.